Hello, my name is Ray Bowman. I'm the president of Bowman Business Services. Bowman Business Services provides international trade consultation, training, and content publishing. We assist small, medium-sized, and large-sized companies with their import and export issues, whether it be international trade payments, supply chain logistics, import compliance, export compliance, product quality issues. These are all the issues that companies face day to day, and this is the way we assist these companies in minimizing their risk and maximizing their opportunities. I myself have been involved in international trade for over 25 years. I started in the logistics business, freight forwarding, ocean, air freight. I then transitioned into trade finance, working with banks, as well as being a trade consultant for the state of California and several economic development collaboratives. This has given me a unique approach to helping companies solve their import and export challenges and maximizing their opportunities. I'm often asked, how big is the potential for import and export? After all, we're in a down economy, and many of these other countries like China and India are growing, and they're gaining momentum in the world economy. So what does the potential really look like? Well, if you look at the United States, we're still the largest importer and exporter in the world by a pretty huge margin. If you look at China, China is number 4, fourth largest world economy. But if you compare California, in other words, if California was a country, we would be in the top 10 import and export economies in the world. If you compare California to China, we're about half the production of China. And just think about it. China is a huge country, huge population, one of the biggest manufacturing bases in the world, yet California is 50% of that production equivalent. So that tells you a lot about the high quality, high margin goods, the high tech products that are sought after that come out of California. So a lot of potential there. How about the small and medium-sized companies? How do they fare internationally? If we take California exports as an example, there were over 55,000 companies that exported out of California. 95% of those companies were small and medium-sized, so the potential's huge. If we look at the world markets, it's very diverse. It goes from the largest being Asia to the NAFTA countries, Mexico and Canada, including countries throughout Europe and other places. So it's a very diverse base in terms of who our potential customers can be. And again, most of the world's consumers are outside of this country. The international economy is about $12 trillion, and about a quarter of that is the U.S. So 3/4 of your potential customers, your potential suppliers, are outside of this country. What are some of the things you need to know to be an effective importer and exporter? You need to understand import-export compliance, transportation logistics, understanding how air and ocean freight come together, international documentation. 7% of all international trade is wasted on discrepant documents, on errors in documentation. Your landed cost is important, knowing what your target price is when you approach a potential supplier, but also knowing what your target price is for export of your product into a foreign country. Understanding financing. U.S. companies don't often know how to come in with financing prepared when they start negotiating with their overseas counterparts. Knowing the international banking system, international payment terms. How do you issue payment? How do you reduce your risk on getting paid from an overseas client? What are Incoterms? Incoterms are 3-letter codes that describe responsibilities between buyers and sellers. They're used throughout the trade community in both transport documents, contracts, customs documents, so it's important to know what they are. Contracts and agreements, marketing research. How do you find your potential customers overseas? How do you find your potential markets to purchase supplies or finished goods? How do you qualify these counterparts? Run background checks on them. How do you ensure not only your cargo, but How do you insure your receivables to reduce your risk? How do you develop an international sales agreement? Or how do you maintain product quality? Not just product quality at the factory level, but throughout the entire supply chain. And how do you calculate weight and measure? That has a huge impact on your per unit price. And how do you look at that? Well, to answer these questions, we've developed a course. It's a 6-part course. It's 2 hours each session. The session, for your convenience, will be given live online. You won't need any software to participate in this course. Literally, once you sign up, we'll take your email. We'll send you a reminder email with a hyperlink on that that'll take you into the class. There you can I will be conducting the classes. I'll also have some guest speakers. We'll have different types of presentation materials. You can ask questions. You can type in your questions during our live session, or if you have a microphone on your computer, you can just talk to me directly during the class if you have any questions. You can also talk to your fellow class members if they have microphones as well. If you have a web camera, then during the presentation I can see you as well as you seeing me. So we can make it fully interactive at that point. It's a very valuable class, and we'll be touching on all these various trade topics that I mentioned. So among those, we'll be going over your counterparts, distribution, how to obtain an export license, international trade payments. We're going to look at contracts and agreements, how to select international freight forwarders, how to maximize your supply chain, import classifications, how to calculate that, how to know which duty rates are, and how to set up the import process. In our first session, we're going to be looking at all the different export-import resources, how to identify your top markets, your top targets, your buyers and sellers, understanding the advantages and disadvantages to agents, sales reps, understanding what those are, how do you qualify them. In our second session, we'll be focusing on documentation and compliance. What is the import process in the U.S.? What is the export process? What is the export licensing process if your goods require a license? Import and export costs. We'll focus on Incoterms and how they affect costs. Landed cost, weight and measure, finance costs. All of these calculations, they're important to integrate into your business plan, into your forecasting. In session 4, we're going to focus on trade finance, payment terms, alternative financing. In other words, where do you access money when traditional bank financing won't work for you? In the 5th session, we're going to discuss logistics, the supply chain, air freight, ocean freight. What are the components of cost in that? How do you calculate it? How do you find vendors to ship your goods or import your goods? The 6th session is going to be a wrap-up session where we're going to take all of your questions, all of your issues throughout the course, and we'll make a presentation designed just for the class. You can bring your case studies. We're going to talk about best practices. We're going to talk about ways of solving maybe some of the challenges that you have currently. The sessions are going to include, as we mentioned before, the 6 2-hour sessions. It'll include a book called Quick Start to International Trade. This book is not only valuable in terms of the course, but it'll be a valuable desk reference when you are doing your day-to-day international operations. This course through UC Merced is going to sponsor 3 hours of consultation. So I'll be able to spend 3 hours offline after the course with you to help you get started on your import-export venture. We're going to record the last session. So those questions, those critical issues that we're going to answer, you'll be able to have a recording of that you can keep for future use. So I hope you'll join us for these upcoming live online classes. I think you'll find them very informative. One of the things that differentiates these classes is the support. The economic development collaboratives that are participating with this course that'll be there for you even after the course is gone. So I hope you'll join us.